He diplomatic vessel moved slowly through the darkness of space. Captain Dongmin stood on the bridge, watching the massive station ahead. It was bigger than anything humanity had ever built. The NIGMA Empire wanted everyone to know they were powerful. Their throne world station floated in orbit like a metal moon. Covered in weapons and shields, Ambassador Giwu stood beside him. She wore simple gray robes, her face calm. But Dongmin knew her well enough to see the tension in her shoulders. They both understood what was at stake today. The NIMI had summoned them here to deliver demands. Not requests, demands. "Captain, we're being hailed," said the communications officer. "Put it through," Dongmin replied. The view screen changed. A face appeared that made several crew members step back. Supreme Overlord Vecthar looked like something from Earth's ancient nightmares. 6 arms, scales that glittered like dark metal, and eyes that glowed with orange light. Behind him, dozens of Nimor warriors stood in perfect lines. "Humans," Vecthar's voice came through the translator as a deep rumble. "You will dock at Bay 17. You will come alone. You will bring no weapons." The screen went dark before anyone could respond. Jiwoo straightened her robes. Well, that was polite. Dongmin allowed himself a small smile. "Are you ready for this?" "No," she said honestly. "But we're going anyway." General Taeyong joined them at the airlock. He was an old soldier with scars across his face and gray in his hair. He had fought in the Proxima Wars, had seen what happened when diplomacy failed. "I don't like this," he said. "We should have brought the fleet. That would make things worse," Jiwoo said. "They want us to be afraid. We can't show them fear." The docking process took 20 minutes. When the airlock opened, a squad of NIMA soldiers waited for them. Each one was twice the size of a human, covered in armor that hummed with energy. They didn't speak. They just pointed down the corridor. The walk to the throne room felt like walking to an execution. The walls were covered in trophies from conquered worlds. Dongmin saw flags, weapons, even the skulls of alien species mounted like hunting prizes. The NIGMA wanted visitors to know what happened to those who resisted. The throne room was enormous. Hundreds of NIGMA officials stood on raised platforms, looking down at the floor where the humans would stand. In the center, on a throne made from black crystal, sat Supreme Overlord Vecthar. "Humans," he said, and his voice echoed in the huge space. "Do you know why you are here?" Gyu stepped forward. Her voice was steady. "We were told you wished to discuss our colonies in the Kepler Belt," Vecthar laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Discuss? No, I do not discuss with lesser species. I inform them." He gestured with one of his 6 arms. A holographic map appeared in the air, showing 12 human colonies. "These worlds now belong to the NIGMA Empire. You have 30 days to evacuate them. After that, anyone remaining will be considered an invader on our territory." Taeyong's hand moved toward his sidearm before he remembered they had no weapons. Dongmin put a hand on his shoulder. Ji-Woo remained calm. "Those worlds are home to 17 million humans. 30 days is not enough time to evacuate everyone." "That is not my concern," Vecthar said. "You should have been more efficient breeders." Several NIGMA officials laughed at that. Jiwoo waited until they were quiet. When she spoke again, her voice carried across the entire throne room. "Supreme Overlord, humanity has existed for millions of years. We evolved on a death world where everything tried to kill us. Diseases, predators, natural disasters, ice ages. We survived them all. We learned to adapt. We learned to endure. We don't want war with your empire. But if you force our hand, you will discover why humanity spent 10,000 years as the apex predator on a planet that tried very hard to kill us." The throne room went silent. Vecthar leaned forward on his throne. His orange eyes studied Jiwoo like she was an insect. "Is that a threat?" he asked quietly. "It's a warning," Jiwoo said. "There is a difference." Vecthar gestured again. The holographic map changed, showing footage of a NIGMA fleet in action. Dongmin watched as ships fired beams of pure energy at a planet. The atmosphere caught fire. The oceans boiled. Within minutes, the entire world was burning. Now that was the Kellner homeworld, Vecthar said. They also gave us warnings. They told us they were ancient and wise. They said we should fear their power. He made a dismissive gesture. They were wrong. Now they are dust. He stood from his throne, all 6 arms spread wide. You call yourself apex predators? You survived a death world. How impressive. The NIGMA Empire controls 47 star systems. We have destroyed 12 civilizations who thought themselves strong. Your entire species lives on a handful of planets. You have 1 small fleet. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Vector walked down from his throne until he stood directly in front of GU. He towered over her, his scales gleaming in the light. You are soft pink creatures who die if you stay in space too long. You need air and water and warmth. You are weak. You are nothing. Ji-woo looked up at him. She did not step back. We are survivors. That makes us very dangerous when cornered. For a long moment, they stared at each other. Then Vector laughed again. Dangerous? Let me show you dangerous. He turned and walked back to his throne. 30 days. Not 1 day more. After that, any human found on those worlds will be killed. Their ships will be destroyed. Their cities will burn. And if you attempt to resist, he smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. We will visit your Earth. We will see how well your death world prepared you for quantum displacement weapons. Ji-woo took a slow breath. Reconsider, please. There is still time to find another solution. The only solution is your obedience, Vector said. He waved a hand in dismissal. 30 days. Now leave my sight. The guards surrounded them again. The walk back to the ship was silent. None of the humans spoke until they were safely aboard the diplomatic vessel and the airlocks had sealed. Dong-Min collapsed into his command chair. That went well, he said bitterly. Taeyang was pacing like a caged animal. We can't let them take those world Ts. 17 million people. Where will they go? Ji-woo was already at a communications console, typing quickly. We evacuate everyone. Every single person. We have no choice. And then what? Dongmin asked. We just let them take 12 colonies? We worked for decades to build those worlds. Gi-woo stopped typing. She turned to look at both men. Her calm mask had finally cracked. Dongmin saw anger in her eyes. Real anger. No, she said quietly. We let them think we're beaten. We evacuate the colonies. We follow their demands. She turned back to the console and entered a code sequence. But I'm also sending a message to Earth. 2 words. Dongmin watched the screen. The message was heavily encrypted. Using codes that only the highest levels of Terran government would understand, Protocol Omega Taejong stopped pacing. Are you sure about that? They threatened to burn Earth, Gi-woo said. They showed us footage of genocide and called it a demonstration of power. They think we're weak because we tried to talk first. She hit the send button. They're about to learn that mercy is not weakness. It's a choice. And they just made us choose differently. The ship pulled away from the NIGMA station. In the viewport, Dongmin could see the massive fleet surrounding the throne world. Hundreds of warships, each one bristling with weapons. They have no idea what they've just done. Taeyang whispered. Dong-Min thought about Earth, about humanity's long, bloody history, about all the times his species had been pushed to the edge of extinction and fought their way back, about all the wars, all the weapons, all the dark knowledge that came from surviving on a world that wanted you dead. The NIGMA. I thought they were strong because they conquered other species. But humanity had spent millennia conquering themselves, fighting wars with weapons that could crack continents and poison skies. They had learned restraint not from weakness, but from knowing exactly how much damage they could cause. No, Dongmin agreed. They really don't. The Terran Coalition Council chamber was buried deep under Geneva, protected by meters of steel and concrete. The room was packed. Every representative from every human colony had answered the emergency summons. They knew what was coming. Admiral Hyanwoo stood at the podium, his uniform pressed and perfect despite the situation. Behind him, a holographic display showed the 12 colonies that would be lost. 17 million faces that needed saving. The NIGMA have given us 30 days, he began. Our projections show we can evacuate everyone in 23 days if we mobilize every civilian and military transport we have. It will be tight, but possible. Counselor Biora raised her hand from her seat. She was young for a counselor, barely 40, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. And after we evacuate, we just surrender those worlds? Decades of terraforming, building, growing. We give it all to them? The alternative is war, said another counselor. A war we cannot win. The NIGMA have technology centuries ahead of ours. Their fleet outnumbers ours 3-1. We would be slaughtered. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Admiral Hyanwu waited for silence. When it came, he spoke again, and his voice was different now. Harder. We don't need to be more advanced than them, he said. We just need to be more ruthless. Everyone stared at him. Kepler Station was surrounded by an asteroid field, thousands of rocks floating in space. What the NIGMA didn't know was that humanity had spent 3 weeks placing explosives on those asteroids, and magnetic accelerators, and a lot of other surprises. The asteroids exploded outward, accelerated to incredible speeds. The NIGMA ships had shields, but shields were designed to stop energy weapons and missiles. They were not designed to stop a rock the size of a building moving at several thousand meters per second. 17. NIGMA ships died in the first 30 seconds. Crushed by asteroids or torn apart when the rocks punched through their holes, the enemy fleet scattered, their neat formation breaking as they tried to avoid the storm of debris. Enemy fleet in disarray, the tactical officer reported. They're trying to reform. Don't let them, Hyanwu ordered. All ships, attack pattern Wolfpack. Target their command vessels first. The human ships came screaming back, no longer running but hunting. They moved through the asteroid field like they owned it, using the rocks for cover and navigation. The NIGMA tried to track them but kept losing targets in the debris. Commander. Sung-min flew her fighter through the chaos like a demon. She was piloting one of the new neural interface craft, her mind connected directly to the ship's systems. She could think a turn, and the ship would respond faster than any manual control. She could feel the GI forces threatening to crush her, but the neural link helped her body handle it. Eagle 1-2 Wing, she called to her squadron. 3 NIGMA frigates at Mark 7. Let's introduce them to some Earth tactics. Her 12 fighters dove toward the enemy ships. The NIGMA point defense systems tracked them, filling space with defensive fire. But the human fighters were moving in ways that broke every rule of physics. They spun, twisted, accelerated past what should kill any pilot. The neural interface let them push their ships to the absolute limit. 2 fighters were hit and exploded. Sung-min didn't have time to mourn them. She armed her weapons. Experimental quantum torpedoes that Dr. Yangsu had pulled from some black project. She fired at point-blank range into the first frigate's shield. The torpedo hit and did something strange. The shield didn't just collapse. It inverted, turning the energy back on itself. The frigate shuddered and then simply came apart as its own shields tore it to pieces. Target destroyed, Sung-min reported. These new torpedoes work great. Also, I think I'm going to be sick when this is over. The battle raged for 3 hours. The NIGMA kept trying to use their superior numbers, but the human fleet refused to fight fair. They used the asteroids as weapons. They hacked into NIGMA communication systems and sent false orders. They deployed mines that looked like debris. They did everything they could think of to even the odds. But the most devastating surprise came when Admiral Hyanwu decided it was time to show them what Dr. Yangsu had really been working on. All ships. Activate quantum destabilizers. He ordered 20 human cruisers powered up weapons that looked like nothing the NIGMA had ever seen. They didn't fire beams or missiles. They fired something invisible, something that traveled faster than light itself, and targeted the quantum field that held matter together. The NIGMA shields. Their pride and joy, their technology that had made them invincible, simply stopped working. The destabilizers reached through the shields like they weren't there, and touched the ship's hulls, and the ships came apart. Not from explosions. They just fell apart, their molecular bonds breaking as the quantum field was disrupted. 47 NIM ships died in seconds, their crews not even understanding what had killed them. Enemy fleet withdrawing, the tactical officer said, not quite believing what he was seeing. They're running, sir. Haiyan Wu watched the NIGMA fleet jump to hyperspace, leaving behind 18 dead ships and thousands of crew floating in the void. Humanity had lost 19 ships. The numbers were still not good, but they had won. They had actually won. Send a message to all colonies, Haiyan Wu said. The NIGMA can bleed. Tell everyone. We can win this. High Commander Zulthax stood in the war room of the NIGMA throne world, staring at the casualty reports. He was older than most NIGMA, with scars from dozens of campaigns. He had conquered 7 species for the Empire. He had never lost a battle before today. Explain this, Supreme Overlord Vecthar demanded. You had 400 ships. They had 150. How did we lose? They don't fight like any species we've encountered, Zulthax said carefully. They used the environment as a weapon. They changed tactics constantly, and their new weapons. He gestured at the analysis reports. We have nothing in our database like these quantum destabilizers. They bypass our shields completely. Vecthar slammed all 6 fists on the table. They are primitives. They live on one world. How do they have weapons we don't understand? Because they're not primitives, Zulthax said. I reviewed their history. Their planet, this Earth, it tried to kill them for millions of years. They survived by being smarter, more adaptable, more vicious than anything that hunted them. They know how to fight because they've been fighting since they crawled out of their oceans. I don't care about their history, Vecthar snarled. I want them dead. All of them. Over the next 4 months, the war spread across human space. The NIGMA tried to adapt to human tactics, but humanity kept changing the rules. They used biological weapons that the NIGMA called dishonorable. They deployed AI that hacked enemy systems. They even used psychological warfare, broadcasting messages that made NIMA crews doubt their leaders. Private Daehan, part of a Marine unit defending a mining station when the NIGMA finally captured him. He was 20 years old, from a farming colony that didn't exist anymore. The NIGMA had burned it 3 weeks into the war. They put him in an interrogation cell with 2 NIGMA officers. One of them spoke human language as well. Tell us how your quantum destabilizers work, the NIGMA officer demanded. Daehan spat blood on the floor. They had beaten him pretty badly. I'm a Marine, not a scientist. I don't know how they work. Then tell us why you fight. Your fleet is smaller. Your technology is weaker. Why not surrender and save your lives? Daehan laughed. It hurt his broken ribs, but he laughed anyway. You don't understand. You think you're scary? You think bombing planets and killing civilians makes you strong? He looked up at his interrogators with eyes that held no fear, only hate. You conquer worlds. We survived Earth. Your worst day is our Tuesday. The NIGMA officer hit him again. Primitive savage. You will all die for your arrogance. Maybe, Daehan said, but you'll remember us. Every species you ever conquered, they forgot they were alive when you came. They gave up. They surrendered. He smiled through bloody teeth. We won't. Kill us all, and the last human will be trying to bite your throat out with their dying breath. That's what it means to be from Earth. He executed him and his unit the next day. The NIGMA broadcasted across their empire, showing the humans being killed. They meant it as propaganda, proof that resistance was futile. It had the opposite effect. Every human who saw that footage, who saw Daehan's defiance even in death, became more determined. Recruitment for the military tripled. Scientists worked longer hours on new weapons. Even civilians found ways to help, donating ships and supplies. Daehan's last words spread across human space like wildfire. Your worst day is our Tuesday. It became a rally cry. Soldiers painted it on their ships. Marines shouted it as they charged into battle. It was on every news broadcast, every memorial service. The NIGMA had tried to break human will. Instead, They had created a legend. Supreme Overlord Vecthar watched the footage of his propaganda, backfiring, and felt something he had not felt in decades. Doubt these humans. These supposedly primitive beings, they were not breaking. They were getting stronger. More determined? More dangerous? Nuffy said to High Commander Zulthax. Prepare the decimation protocol. Zulthax went very still. My lord, that weapon is forbidden under every galactic treaty. If we use it, every other species will turn against us. I don't care, Vector said. The humans need to learn that some enemies are too strong to resist. We will sterilize every human world simultaneously. We will burn their atmospheres and boil their oceans. We will erase them from existence. That is genocide, Zulthax said carefully. That is victory, Vector corrected. Begin preparations. I want the decimation protocol ready in 3 weeks. X bowed and left. But as he walked to his ship, he wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. The humans had warned them. They had offered peace. The NIGMA had responded with threats and murder. Now they were about to commit genocide, because they could not defeat an enemy they had underestimated. All ships. Defensive Formation Omega, he ordered. Protect the station at all costs. The battle was brutal. The human ships fought with desperate courage, throwing themselves at the NIGMA defenses. They lost ships, but they kept coming. They had no choice. If this station survived, humanity died. Song-Hoon commanded from the bridge of the heavy cruiser Last Stand. The name had seemed dramatic when they launched. Now it felt appropriate. We're not going to break through, his tactical officer said. They're too strong. Song-Hoon looked at the display. His fleet was down to 8 ships. The NIGMA still had 57. The station's shields were barely scratched. He had failed. No, he refused to fail. All ships, retreat pattern Delta, he ordered. Then he switched to a private channel to his bridge crew. Everyone who wants to live, get to the escape pods. I'm giving you 60 seconds, sir, his tactical officer asked. That's an order, Lieutenant. Evacuate the ship. All of you. Understanding dawned. Sir, no. We'll stay with you. 60 seconds, Sang-Hoon repeated. Don't waste them arguing. The crew evacuated. Song-Hoon watched them go. These brave young people who had volunteered for a suicide mission. At least some of them would survive. When the ship was empty except for him, Sang-Hoon took manual control. He disabled the safeties on the engines, pushed them past their limits. The ship began to accelerate, faster, approaching relativistic speeds. Admiral Han-Woo, he broadcast on an open channel. Tell my family I'm sorry I missed my grandson's graduation. But this was more important. High Commander Zulthax saw what the human ship was doing and felt his blood run cold. All ships, destroy that cruiser. Now. They fired everything at the Last Stand. Energy beams, missiles, railguns. The ship's shields collapsed. The hull began to melt. But it did not stop. It was moving too fast now. Too much momentum. Nothing could stop it. Song-Hoon saw the station filling his viewport. He had time for one last thought. He hoped it would be enough. The Last Stand hit Station 13 at 98% the speed of light. The kinetic energy release was equivalent to a small star dying. The station, High Commander Zulthax's entire fleet, and everything within 10,000 kilometers simply ceased to exist. The explosion was so bright it could be seen from Earth, but the quantum core had not been destroyed in time. As Sang-Hoon's ship struck, the core activated for a split second before being vaporized. The amplification field began to form. The decimation protocol started to fire, and then something unexpected happened. The quantum core at Station 13 activated for exactly 1.3 seconds before. Elder statesman Sang-Hoon's ship vaporized it. In that brief moment, the decimation protocol began its terrible work. The amplification field reached toward Earth, toward Mars, toward all of humanity's colonies. But the field was incomplete, unstable, without all 13 stations working in perfect synchronization. The weapon was just a broken tool trying to do the impossible. The field collapsed. Instead of igniting atmospheres, it created a massive electromagnetic pulse that knocked out power grids across 3 star systems. Millions of people sat in darkness for 6 hours until backup generators came online. But they were alive. Humanity was alive. Captain Dongman received the alert while his ship, the diplomatic vessel Horizon's Edge, was on patrol near the outer colonies. He had been reassigned to military duty when the war started. Now he watched his sensors as the electromagnetic pulse rippled across space. All stations destroyed, his communications officer reported. The decimation protocol failed. We did it, sir. We actually did it. Dongmin allowed himself a small smile. How many ships did we lose? 73. Including elder statesman Sang-hoon's entire fleet. The smile faded. 73 ships. Thousands of crew. Sang-hoon, and all those brave souls who had charged into certain death to save their species. Make sure their names are remembered, Dongmin said quietly. All of them. But the war was not over. Supreme Overlord Vekthar was still alive. He was furious beyond reason. On the NIGMA throne world, Vekthar stood in the ruins of his war room. The humans had sent a cyberattack through the same network that controlled the decimation protocol. When the stations were destroyed, the attack virus spread through every NIGMA military system, causing chaos across the Empire. Status report, Vekthar demanded. An officer approached nervously. My lord, we have lost 60% of our fleet. Our command structure is in chaos. Many worlds are requesting permission to surrender. No one surrenders. Vekthar roared. All 6 of his arms grabbed weapons from the walls. I will finish this myself. Prepare my dreadnought. We fly to Earth. If I cannot burn them from orbit, I will burn them with my own hands. His remaining officers looked at each other. Some had doubt in their eyes, but no one dared to argue with their supreme overlord, especially now when he was beyond reason. Vekthar's dreadnought was a massive ship, the pride of the NIGMA fleet. It was equipped with a stellar compression bomb, a weapon capable of making a star go supernova. He had planned to use it on Earth's sun once the decimation protocol failed. Set course for the Sol system, Vekthar ordered. Maximum speed. I want to see their world burn. Captain Dongman was 60 light-years away when his sensors detected the dreadnought's launch. He ran the calculations and felt his stomach drop. They're heading for Earth, he said. Communications, get me Admiral Hyenwoo immediately. The Admiral appeared on screen. He looked exhausted, but his eyes sharpened when he saw Dongmin's expression. What is it? Supreme Overlord Vekthar is personally flying a dreadnought toward Earth. Our intelligence says it's carrying a stellar compression bomb. If he makes it to the Sol system, he'll destroy our sun.
How long until he reaches Earth?
18 hours. Maybe less, if he's pushing his engines. Hyenwoo closed his eyes for a moment. The fleet is scattered. We don't have time to intercept him. The Horizon's Edge is on his path, Dongmin said quietly. We can try to stop him. Our ship is a diplomatic vessel. You have no weapons capable of threatening a dreadnought, especially not one piloted by Vekthar himself. I know, Dongmin said, but I have to try. It was a long silence. Finally, Hyenwoo nodded. Do what you can. I'm sending Commander Sungmin's fighter wing to support you. They're 12 hours out. That's too long. But it's all we have. Good luck, Captain. Dongmin turned to his crew. They were diplomats, scientists, linguists, not soldiers. But they had all volunteered for military duty when the war started. They knew the risks. You heard the situation, he said. That dreadnought is going to destroy Earth if we don't stop it. Our weapons are useless against its shields. But if we can get close enough, we might be able to trigger the stellar bomb prematurely. The explosion will destroy us too. He paused, letting that sink in. Anyone who wants to leave, the escape pods are ready. I won't think less of you. This is not what you signed up for. No one moved. His communications officer, a young man named Kite, spoke up. Captain, we've come too far to run now. My family is on Earth. If that dreadnought reaches the Sol system, they die. I'd rather die stopping it. The others nodded. One by one, they confirmed they would stay. Dong-Min felt pride swell in his chest. Then let's make our deaths count. The Horizon's Edge set an intercept course. Dongmin pushed the engines as hard as they would go. They caught up to the dreadnought 8 hours later, just as it entered the outer edge of the Sol system. Target acquired, said Kite. The dreadnought is heading directly for the sun. Estimated time to firing position, 26 minutes. Can we hail them? Dongmin asked. Channel open, sir. Supreme Overlord Vectar's face appeared on screen. He looked insane, his orange eyes wild, saliva dripping from his teeth. A diplomatic ship? You think you can stop me with words? I think you've lost, Dongmin said calmly. Your empire is broken. Your fleet is destroyed. This is over, Vectar. End it now. Don't make us kill you, Vectar laughed, the sound harsh and bitter. Kill me? You? He gestured at something off-screen. I have the power to destroy your sun. Your entire system will die. Everything you love will burn. And you think you can stop me? Yes, Dongmin said, because I'm willing to die to protect my home. Are you willing to die for your pride? For just a moment, something flickered in Vectar's eyes. Doubt? Fear? But it was gone quickly, replaced by rage. I am the Supreme Overlord. I do not fear death. He cut the channel. The dreadnought accelerated toward the sun. He's arming the stellar bomb, Kite reported. 5 minutes until he can fire it. Dongmin looked at his crew. They were all at their stations, calm and ready. These people had families, dreams, lives they would never live. And they were willing to give all of it up to save Earth. Full power to engines, Dongmin ordered. Prepare to ram the dreadnought at maximum velocity. Target their bomb mechanism. Sir, even if we hit it, we can't penetrate their shields, said the tactical officer. Maybe not, Dongmin said. But if we destabilize the bomb, it might create a dimensional tear instead of a supernova. That won't destroy the system. It will still kill us. I know. The Horizon's Edge flew into the sun's corona. The heat was incredible. Warning alarms screamed as the hull temperature rose past safe levels. But the ship kept flying, kept accelerating. Commander Sungmin's fighter wing arrived just as Dongmin began his final approach. She screamed orders to her pilots, trying to provide covering fire. But the dreadnought's point defense systems destroyed 2 of her fighters instantly. The thermal radiation from being so close to the sun made accurate flying nearly impossible. Captain, pull back. Sungmin shouted over the radio. We'll find another way. There is no other way, Dongmin replied. He could see the sun filling his viewport, a wall of fire that stretched forever. Tell my family I love them. Tell Earth that we bought them time. He fired every weapon the Horizon's Edge had, pouring energy into one spot on the dreadnought's shields. It was useless. The shields held, but the weapon's fire made Vectar turn his attention from the bomb controls for just a second, just long enough for Dongmin to close the distance. The Horizon's Edge slammed into the dreadnought's bomb mechanism. The shields held, but the impact transferred enough kinetic energy to damage the delicate quantum components inside the bomb. Alarms started blaring on Vectar's bridge. No, Vectar screamed. No, fire the weapon. Fire it now. But the bomb was already destabilizing. Instead of compressing the sun, it began to tear a hole in space-time itself. A dimensional rift opened, small at first, but growing rapidly. The gravitational pull was immense. Both the dreadnought and the Horizon's Edge were dragged toward it. Vectar tried to escape, pushing his engines past their limits, but it was no use. The rift pulled him in. Dongmin felt the ship shudder as they were pulled toward the rift. He opened a final channel to Earth. This is Captain Dongmin of the Horizon's Edge. Tell our children that we did this for their tomorrow. Tell them that Earth is safe. Tell them the rift swallowed both ships. For a moment, space folded in on itself in a display of light and energy. Then it collapsed, leaving nothing behind. No ships, no debris. Just empty space and the sun burning peacefully. Commander Sungmin floated in her fighter, staring at where the ships had been. Tears ran down her face. They're gone, she whispered. They saved us all, and they're gone. 3 months later, the NIGMA Empire officially surrendered. Without Vecthar, without their fleet, without their will to fight, the Empire simply collapsed. Their territory was divided up by other species. Their weapons were destroyed. The NIGMA themselves were placed under strict galactic observation, forbidden from having a military or leaving their homeworlds without permission. Ambassador Giwu stood at the memorial service for Captain Dongmin and his crew. 8,000 people attended, from all across human space. The memorial was a simple stone wall with the names of all the ships and crew who had died in the war carved into it. Dongmin's name was near the top. "They ignored our warning," Jiwoo said in her speech. "They thought mercy was weakness. They thought our offers of peace meant we were afraid to fight. They learned too late that humanity's greatest strength is not our weapons or our technology. It's that we never give up, we never surrender, and we never forget." She placed a hand on Dongmin's name. Captain Dongmin and his crew, Admiral Heonwoo and his fleet, Elder Statesman Sang-hoon, and all the brave souls who fought in this war. They gave everything so we could have a future. We owe them a debt we can never repay. The crowd was silent except for quiet crying. Everyone there had lost someone in the war. "The galaxy watched us fight," Jiwoo continued. "They watched us nearly face extinction, and they did nothing. They were too afraid. But now they look at humanity differently. Not with pity, but with respect. We have established a new doctrine for the Terran Coalition. We will be your trading partners, your allies, your friends. But if you threaten our existence, you will discover why Earth is called a death world, because we are its children."
Ow.
50 years passed. The war became history. A new generation grew up hearing stories about Captain Dongmin and the heroes who saved humanity. The memorial became a sacred place, visited by millions every year. Ambassador Jiwoo was 89 years old when the signal was detected. She had retired from politics but still served on the memorial board. She was at the memorial when the scientists came running to find her. "Ambassador, you need to see this," they said, out of breath. They showed her the signal. It was old Terran code, the kind used during the war, and the message made her heart stop. Dongmin to Earth. We survived. Coming home? It's a long story. Jiwoo stood in the memorial hall, tears streaming down her face. She looked at the statue of Captain Dongmin that had been erected after the war. His stone face was calm, determined, heroic. "We'll be waiting," she whispered to the statue. "However long it takes, we'll be waiting." The signal had come from deep space, from the direction where the dimensional rift had opened. Somewhere out there, in the infinite darkness, Captain Dongmin and his crew were alive, and they were coming home. The memorial hall had been a place of mourning for 50 years. Now, it became a place of hope. The dead were not dead. They were just lost. And soon they would be found. Humanity had learned many things from the war with the NIGMA Empire. They learned that the galaxy was dangerous, that mercy was a choice, not a weakness, that when pushed to the edge, they would fight with everything they had. But the most important lesson was simpler. Humanity never gave up on its own. Not in life. Not in death. Not even after 50 years Captain Dongmin was coming home. And Earth would be there, waiting with open arms and tears of joy. The war was over. The heroes would return. And the galaxy would remember forever what happened when they ignored humanity's warning.